Well, good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Monday Motivation. Just trying to find where my camera is. Oh, it's over there. Okay, excellent. As I spill tea down myself, welcome to this week's Monday Motivation. A little bit late streaming. As you can see, I'm in a different location because I think I'm the only person in this crazy busy times to actually have moved during this pandemic. So thank you for joining me. I'm just going to take a slurp of this tea so I don't spill any more down myself. And if you're watching and you like to take part live, then do type in the box below. Type good morning, ask any questions, add any comments or anything while I'm on here for the next 15 minutes. I always say that 15 minutes, and normally it's about 20 minutes, sometimes 25, but hopefully this morning we'll keep it short and sweet. So doing the best I can with the hair that I've got. You ladies will know there's two camps of ladies, there's and men, but mainly the women I'm hearing talking about this. There's the, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my roots? And for the women of colour, there's a, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my weave? Current situation going on. And if you didn't get a word of that or didn't understand what that meant, don't worry. So I haven't got my glasses on, so I will be squinting. How am I getting on in my new home? Well, it's been an odd one because I've been trying to move out in between the two. So I've been like a trapeze artist, swinging between the two. So, but I'm loving it. I'm waiting for furniture to arrive, which is another odd thing. Delivery starts at 7 a.m. Luckily, I got here at about 6:45. So if you suddenly hear a very loud tap on the door, I may have to pause and come back to you. So thank you so much for joining me. So today I'm talking about no choice to opportunities, and I thought it was very apt given the current time. Now, I know that many of you that watch this are business owners. Many of you that watch this are really into helping other people to develop personally, professionally, or even spiritually. And yes, it's been an interesting time. Now, I'm based here in London in the UK, and I'm not going to dedicate this Monday Motivation to the pandemic, but what I am going to do is dedicate it to the feeling. And like, even if you're watching this back on the replay, let me know, give me a thumbs up or a love heart. Have you ever had that feeling where you're like, I've got no choice? Have you ever said that internally or externally? Oh my gosh, X has happened, I have no choice. Maybe it's been a relationship split. Maybe it's something that you want to do next. You're like, well, I'm going to have to do it. I've got no choice. And one of the things that came up a lot in conversation in between moving last week was the whole piece around business owners in the UK. Do I fit into this category? Do I fit into that category? Am I a limited company? Am I a sole trader? What happens to me? Even for you guys who are employees, and employers who are like working out, what do I do? Do I furlough people? Do I do this thing? And quite often, when we're under pressure or under the cosh, we feel like we've got no choice. And that's where sometimes that inner dialogue, that little still voice, and normally when it's sort of not so positive, it's a loud voice, says, well, I have no choice. I have to do this. I've got no choice. I have to do that. So what I'm going to do today is share with you something that a really great teacher, quite literally, mentor, and I don't know what to call it, when you become somebody who's mastered something and you become their apprentice. Because normally it'd be coach and coachee. I don't know what that's called. If you do, please type it in the box because I haven't got a clue. But anyway, something that they shared with me over a decade ago now, and I'm going to share it with you because I've personally found it really helpful to navigate these times. And remembering that for some of us, we have more time than it is good for us. We overthink things. So if you're an overthinker or you're prone to getting anxious, I think this will really help. And also, if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got no choice but to finish that sentence, then this will also be helpful to you too. So Ivona's saying, got you with the hair situation. You know that, Ivona. I think the BAME women, as it's politically correct to call us, of the world will either be shaving our heads, having dreadlocks, or just seeing what happens. I don't know which category we fall into. So, okay, let's get cracking. Let me give you some context around this. Normally I'd be talking about maybe something that sprang out of conversation with clients, but actually this came from me. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been, given various different options of what we can do financially, and I'm going to speak to that because that, other than the C to the O to the V fear, other than that, I know there's more of it, but other than that, those fears that are going on, people are worried, like financially. How are they going to look after their families? How are they going to look after themselves? Some of us have had a plan, some of us haven't had a plan. So there's different levels of maybe fear and maybe anxiety underneath that. Some of us are okay and we want to look after more people and can't. That feels really frustrating, especially when you see all the good deeds that are coming out of this current situation. So when the government in the UK announced these different packages, if you like, for different types of people, some people, myself included, fell through the cracks. So it was a bit like, is there this thing? Is there that thing? And the reason that I share that so openly and candidly with you is because I know I'm not the only person that's going through that. I'm not the only person in the UK especially who's going through that. Hey, good morning, Anita. Oh, and Buzz. Morning, hello. Sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. Do you like my new pad? Well, I should say our new pad, although I'm probably one of the only people in a pandemic that moves in together with someone who's like 350 miles away in self-isolation. So it's a very strange moving in together experience. But anyway, that's, I'm sure, another topic for another time. Those of you that don't know me very well are probably going, isn't that a bit too much information, Jenny? Well, no, it's my life. And I always bring honesty, authenticity to everything that I do. So anyway, what was I saying? What was I saying before I got distracted by saying hello to all those lovely people on there? Just make sure I haven't missed anyone, having said that. What was I saying? Oh, gosh. So I was talking about the choices and the different options that people are either having or not having. I'm not going to pretend that I'm the only person this affects. I know it's other people. But what I found was people were sending me information about, here's what you can do if you've got a business in the UK. Other people were sending me messages going, oh, what are you going to do? What's going to happen with the business? All those sorts of questions. And for that reason, while I remember, I will be hosting a free Zoom call for anyone who's in the Visibility Vibes tribe, so that we can kind of have an online get-together, that we can talk about the things that are brilliant for us, because there's been lots of great things that are going on as well. And we can talk about any challenges that we've got. It's like basically virtual, I don't want to say networking, but get-together. And I'm going to be doing a few more of those just to help support you and me, support each other through the next few weeks / months. So yes. Oh, hello, Kelly. She says, morning, lovely. Hey, I like it when you all chat in the box. So here's what happened. People are saying, Jenny, what are you going to do? And I found myself, like everyone else, trying to assimilate all the information out there. And it's almost like you distill it down. If you imagine an invisible kind of funnel in the true sense of the word, not the online sales sense of the word. But you put all of your things in the top, and gradually it comes down and distills something out of the bottom. And what I found myself doing was saying, well, I can't do that one, I can't do that option, I can't do this option, I guess it leaves me with this. And in voicing that in response to the people that were asking me these questions, that actually didn't feel good to me. I mean, give me a thumbs up or a love heart if you've ever been in one of those situations where you're told you have to do this. This is the only choice you've got. How many times really does it feel good? Does it feel good? I know it certainly doesn't for me. So if you've ever had any kind of life happening where it's like, well, I've got no choice and this is what I need to do, definitely give me a thumbs up or a love heart. And if not, then maybe I need to quickly change the subject on here so that I can, so that I can go with something else. So, oh yes, I see a couple of thumbs going up there. So thank you for that. So here's and I'm going to name this guy because he is so great. John Seymour. John Seymour is the man who I originally learnt NLP with, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. In short, neuro is the brain, how we think about things. Linguistic is the language we use to others and ourselves, call it communication. And programming is the way that we do things. Right or wrong, good or bad, it's the way that we do things. The funny example I always give is, there's two actually, one's quite topical. The first one is, do you brush your teeth and then go into the shower, or do you go into the shower and then brush your teeth? If you take that classic example, neither of those two are right or wrong, good or bad, they're just different. And our programming is the way that we prefer to do things, the way that we prefer to regulate ourselves, in the same way that our body temperature regulates, the same way that our blood flows, and it keeps us on a level. And I'll come back, remind me if I forget, but I'll come back to the second topical example of programming. But John Seymour, way back when NLP was just getting started in the United States, actually went over to the United States and learned from Bandler and Grindler, the people who co-created NLP. He learned like straight from the horse's mouth, was really fascinated with this way of human behaviour and a form of psychology really, and came back to the UK and has been teaching it. Now I hope he doesn't mind me saying, he is in his later years a really, really wise guy. So as well as having all of this NLP knowledge, as well as having trained like thousands of students over the years, of which I was one of them, he actually runs his NLP courses where you do an introduction, and to do your practitioner and master practitioner, you do it like an academic year. So you start in September and finish in June, which means that you get to go out in the world, play with the concepts, try them out, and go back once a month and explore what you do. You get assessed, all sorts of things as well. It's not one of those NLP by post, 4 days and you're done, you've got certification. And I'm really grateful for that. Not looking any other way of learning, but the reason that I'm grateful for it was because very shortly after I started my own NLP journey, and had done the practitioner, I had my own massive life event. And I have to say that without those tools and without those skills, I would definitely be a different person today. I'd probably be sat in a corner rocking somewhere in a padded cell, I think, really. Because sometimes when life throws you lemons, we have the ability to make lemonade, and sometimes you just sit in the corner and say, I can't do this. So after going through an introduction to NLP, which I originally actually did when I worked corporately as a senior training manager, I wanted to incorporate some of those skills into the trainings that we were offering our sales teams, our marketing teams, that were mainly based in the UK, regionally, Scotland, Manchester, Bristol, Surrey, all over, but we had an American parent company as well. And I wanted the trainings to be not only beneficial and useful to the business, but beneficial and useful to the people that took them. So I thought I'll just do an introduction, see what these principles are, quite interesting, and help throw them in the mix of the training to know a bit more about it. And after the introduction, it like twisted my melon. I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these different ways of communicating with ourselves that can make a difference and help us to be successful in the things that we wanted to do. So I then went on to do the practitioner for a year, and then the master practitioner, and then the trainer. So I can train out NLP, and then I became John Seymour's apprentice. So anytime he had trainings, not only would I be part of the team, or as some of you know, the crew, but we would also unpack behind the scenes how an exercise went, how we could set it up, if we needed to change something, which technique would be more beneficial next, and stuff like that. Really fascinating journey, and really tapped into my learning geek. I love it. It's not that I love teaching. I do like teaching, but I also love when people get light bulb moments, because a lot of people have negative associations from school when they don't get stuff. They don't understand it, and they're maybe demonised by the other students, the teacher, the education authority, or someone else. So the time with him was brilliant, but here are the nuggets of wisdom that he used to really talk about in his trainings. And he said, and a couple of you said that you had this issue or have had this issue in the past, but he said, one choice is no choice, two choices are a dilemma, with three choices, now you've got options. Like, think about this, 1, 2, 3. When you've got one choice, it really is no choice. This is why we literally say to ourselves, well, I've got no choice but to ... When we've got two choices, it might feel a bit like, oh, well, I could do this, I could do that. But that's swinging. I could do this or I could do that is actually a dilemma. It's the biggest reason that when I am coaching people privately and they talk about life-work balance, is where they get stuck, because they think there's a balance between life or work, one or the other. And it actually doesn't feel good. And we band around this term as an example, life-work balance, as like the holy, the holy grail of something for us to be excited about, something for us to be doing this one thing or the other, when actually what we're doing is putting ourselves into a dilemma. But think about this. When we get out of anxiety, out of overthinking, we come into a more creative space. And when we get into a more creative space, then we've got options. And with 3, 4, 5 options come opportunities. So if you found yourself in the last week or so with this, oh my gosh, this is the only thing I can do, I've got no other choice but to, or if you found yourself saying, should I do this, should I do that, like the old song says, should I stay or should I go, then again, it feels like, well, I could do this and I could do that, but it doesn't feel great. What I'd love you and encourage you to do is to get more creative and create options, and I will be speaking about that in some of the meetups that we have this week. And by the way, if you're one of my vibers and thinking, oh my gosh, I want to be part of the meetup, but you've got things on, let me know whether you prefer a daytime or an evening, although to be honest, I'll be flexible with both. I won't be recording them because I think it's just a great way for us to sit and chat things through, as a collective, not as an individual. And I won't be teaching necessarily, but I'm sure there'll be some great nuggets that's shared, because the Vibers already share some fantastic things in the Visibility Vibe Tribe Facebook group. So if you're not part of that, get in there. I'm going to take down the need for questions when I can get some Wi-Fi, but do get in there and share, because I think one of the really great things from this whole situation is that we are finding new ways to connect more deeply with the people that we know, and sometimes with people that we don't know. So I just think there's a real big coming together, and I definitely want to encourage you all to do that in whichever way you can, not just in my group. So here's the something flashing across my screen there. So in these times, if we can do whatever it takes to stay out of the anxiety of the world, and if you don't know some things to do with that, then do go back and have a look at last week's Monday Motivation. Things like, get your news updates when you need to, but you don't need them 24/7 playing. I put a post out on my personal Facebook wall saying thank you to all my lovely, well-meaning Facebook friends, and I do mean this. But you know what? Last week, one day I got 48 messages. People forwarding on videos, voicemails, no message with it. No, Jenny, I heard this and thought of you. No message with it. I think there's probably about 5 people I could count who actually forwarded something to me and said, I saw this and thought it might be useful. But here's the thing. I think we all have the ability to go out and seek the information we need. And there's now coming a point so early on in this situation where people, and I've spoken to plenty of people in the last 7 days, where people are just getting bombarded with information. And even though it's well-meaning, think about this. If you're sending on something with the C to the O to the V, and you've, and you're sending it to someone, you don't know that they haven't got this, and you don't know that what you're sending them isn't going to add to what could already be a fearful or terse situation. You don't know that a relative of theirs hasn't already gone through this, and because of the horrible sort of circumstances we find ourselves in, there's a possibility that they want to be with that loved one and can't be. So I would urge you to not keep perpetuating that, even if it's from a well-meaning point of view. What this is doing is helping to add a kind of fuel to the fear, if you like, to the wider fear. And because of that, people are then getting into this hopelessness situation. And true hopelessness, having a feeling like there's nothing else or no one else, nothing else that you can do about a situation, is a really horrible feeling. It can lead to a deeper, darker place. And I don't want anyone that I'm connected to or that I know to be going through that by themselves. So again, just to recap on what we covered today, and I'll tell you the second piece of the topical programming piece that I alluded to earlier, is remember 1, 2, 3. If you've only got one choice, that's no choice, and it's not going to feel great. And judge it by the feeling in your own body. If you've got no other choice but to do something and you feel great about it, then knock yourselves out. But rarely does that feel good. The choice needs to come from you. Second thing is 2 choices. Really, that's a dilemma. It's not really giving you options. And think about it in terms of life-work balance. I like to say life-work harmony because they can work with each other and it feels more fluid, as demonstrated by the movement of my hand. But a lot of the time, if we can get to a space where we're out of anxiety and we're into creativity, into creation mode, like brainstorming is a thing for a reason. If you're faced with should I stay or should I go, for example, which I could have been last week, I could have been should I stay or should I go, then brainstorm and what other options are there for me. Even if they seem impossible, I sit in front of clients all the time that say, well, I could do this, I could do that, but I can't because, my parents wouldn't like it, or my spouse wouldn't like it. Or I could do this, or I could do that, but I better not because this could rock the boat or upset people. And when we close ourselves down, hey, I've just seen Faye join. Faye, I hope you've got a few minutes after this because I'm going to ring you. So when we have those kind of, I can't do this, I can't do that, open up the options, get creative, brainstorm. If you've got worries or anxiety going on in your head, get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, write down all of the things that are making you feel anxious. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Doing that in itself will make you feel so much better. And then say, so what else can I do about this? Okay? And don't edit yourself, don't stop yourself. Even if it's like I could win the lottery, write it down. Don't go into but I didn't buy a ticket or whatever. Write down every single option. When you've got so many options in front of you, you then have choice. And when you have choice, you create options which create opportunities. Make sense? Hey, good morning, says Faye. So hopefully that makes sense. If you've got any questions about anything that I've just said up until this point, start typing them in the box now. Please do ask them and I'll answer them now. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for watching it on the replay and letting me know that. And you know what? This is a great one to share with your friends. They might think like there's nothing new about this woman because it might be the first time they've seen one of these. So especially for Faye, Jenny Doll is here and present. There's a whole new story, a whole nother story behind this around presentations and speaking. But everyone likes Jenny Doll. So earlier on I talked about neuro-linguistic programming and programming be the way we do things. Well, the topical example that I can't like not use here is about toilet roll, ironically. Bear with me, not about the C to the O to the V. which I'm going to call it that from now on, which makes it sound kind of cool, and sending prayers and blessings to people that are affected by this at the current time. But here's the thing about toilet roll. This, like, whenever I've asked this at a live workshop, it starts a debate, not heated necessarily, but a debate. And if I'd known that I was actually going to talk about this, I would have brought one to show you, just to show off that I've got some. I didn't bulk buy. So, when you put a toilet roll on the roll, do you put it with the flap at the back so it hangs down, or the flap forward so it hangs forward? Just for a laugh, if you want to type your answers in the box, you can do. People have very definite ideas. I haven't met anyone yet who said, either way, I don't care. Most people go, no, it has to be close to the wall. And people go, oh no, that's disgusting. You can't have it close to the wall. You need to have it at the top. And the funny thing is, people will justify and give reasons as to why they're right in their opinion. It's hilarious. If you're game and you're in some sort of self-isolation with your family, ask them that question and just see. Think about this. There's 6 people in a household, and some of them prefer it one way and some of them prefer it another way. It could cause all sorts of arguments. Anyway, just a weird and wacky thing. But programming is something that we get used to because it feels good to us. Anyway, thank you so much. Oh, I've got my first don't care. Do you know how many thousands of people I've spoken, like trainings and all sorts, and they've always had an opinion? Buzz gets a she doesn't care. I mean, life's too short, really, isn't it, Buzz? So good on you, my lovely. Good on you. Anyway, that's it for now. Please do go over to the Visibility Vibes Tribe. I am going to attempt to log on to take off the questions to enter, but if you're not part of the Vibes Tribe, do go in there. The barriers to entry have just kind of gone down. And this time, and sometime this week, hopefully a couple of times this week, I'm going to host a virtual get-together so that we can all come and talk about what's working for us, what isn't, and let's give one of them a theme. Let's brainstorm together. Let's put our heads together for those of us that want to create options. So let's see what you've all said. Yes, Anita has gone in. Anita says, mine is on a roll, standing on the floor. I like to be different. If I could do that thing, you do that and it clicks. I have to cheat and go, but I can't actually do that. Can you believe it? Yes, so like Buzz, you probably kind of don't care either. I guess if it's on a roll on the floor, do you prefer to pull it to the left, to the right, or don't you care? I guess that could be another angle. And does it feel weird then when you're pulling it off a roll somewhere else? Strange thing to have, especially as it's close to breakfast time. Yes! See, this is why I like the vibers. You have a vibe to you where, don't sweat the little things. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It's been fun. Hope you've liked the setup. Let me know what you think about the setup. I'm playing with different ideas, especially as furniture gets delivered and moves in. And so far, the first lot of furniture hasn't arrived during the Facebook Live, which is a godsend. So yes, I hate it being on the roll as the kids think it's a game. Can you imagine? Actually, Faye, if your kids think it's a game, there is actually an app. It was one of the first apps that I downloaded. Oh my gosh, 2009? On my first very square brick-like iPhone. It's a toilet roll game, and with your finger, you have to try and unravel the toilet roll as quickly as you possibly can. See if you can find that. Give that to the kids instead. Tell them they're allowed to do it on the phone, but they're not allowed to do it in real life. I actually used to let execs do this as part of a funny circuit training. That was one of the exercises. Boy, did they get competitive. They might be in charge and ahead of the ship, but they got competitive when it came to the toilet roll game on the phone. Anyway, so I will speak to you all later. Let me know, send me a private message to this page so I can keep them together and avoid all the video bits that are coming through on the private page. But send me a message here privately or in the group and just tag Monday Motivation, Get Together, or anything else. or if you've seen the thread, just put it onto that thread. Let me know whether you prefer daytime, evening, whether you would like something bright and early in the morning. Some of you are having trouble kind of getting into your day with the uncertainty. Do you want a breakfast, kind of an 8:30 thing where we all get our porridge and our breakfast and sit and brainstorm together? I can keep the screens off if you prefer. Let me know what you prefer. Let's get creative and get some ideas in. Right, that's it for now. Please remember to share this, and I'll speak to you at some point later today, later this week. But remember this, Monday motivations were created to motivate your Monday, your morning, even your week, and perhaps even your month. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye for now.